Hi, I'm Norman Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. When you ask anybody about tourism in Westchester, the number one place to visit is called Historic Hudson Valley, which used to be called the what?
Sleepy Hollow Restoration.
Sleepy Hollow Restoration. And we're going to delve today into why it is such a massive, great attraction. My guest today is Radiah Harper Sumler, who is the Director of Programming for Historic Hudson Valley. And Radiah, I have to ask you this. What's the magic? What is it that makes this attraction so attractive?
I think one element is probably the river, the Hudson River, which ties the 5 sites of Historic Hudson Valley together, which is visible at each of the sites from some point, and was the magic that brought the original owners to each piece of property.
So each of these locations, and we'll list them in a moment, each of these locations belong to someone individually, I guess, except for the church.
Except for the church.
Right. And then it was the river that made it happy.
Sure, I think in all stages of our development, we human beings gather in places where they can function the greatest, and the river provided a great resource and access. And I think for the public today, the beauty of the river and the landscape itself that surrounds these properties is part of the magic. Going back in time is part of the magic. Stepping into a place that's not in your living room or in your community, that's a little different.
Let's list now what the 5 places are that are part of this, and then talk a little bit about the 6th one to come in 1994. Right. So what are the 5?
Well, Sleepy Hollow Restoration's the original name of our organization, now Historic Hudson Valley, started with Phillipsburg Manor in Tarrytown, and then we grew to Sunnyside, which is also in Tarrytown, on the Tarrytown-Irvington border. And then we came up county a little bit to Croton-on-Hudson to Van Cortlandt Manor. And over time, in the past couple of years, 5 years or so ago, we purchased Montgomery Place in Annandale, New York, and the Union Church of Picantico Hills is our 5th property.
And the 6th?
And soon to be, with the National Trust, who is operating and owning the property now, we will be providing tours for the public at Kikett, which is one of the Rockefeller homes. In Picantico Hills.
Yes, that's the famous home behind the walls, behind the fences that very few people have been to.
And it's pretty soon all of us can go.
That would be wonderful. You're, I suppose, planning a massive opening. Is it in 1994?
In 1994, in the spring, we are working now with the National Trust, developing programming and tours that will leave from Phillipsburg Manor, a van or a bus that will take visitors up to John D. Rockefeller's Jr.'s home.
And did that become available with the death of Nelson Rockefeller? Was that what triggered the availability?
It's been a long relationship. John D. Rockefeller Jr. is the founder and visionary of Sleepy Hollow Restoration / Historic Hudson Valley. As I said, a long relationship that over time has developed, and the family wishing the public to become more familiar with the home and the collections of John D. Rockefeller Jr.'s family itself.
And what does one do when one visits one of these sites? Is it a museum? Is it a stuffy museum for the few?
We have to shake the dust off. I think that is the old view of museums. We consider ourselves a living history museum. Our properties, for the most part, are indoor and outdoor, so the grounds, the animals, the gardens, the landscape, the views, as well as the houses themselves, the collections, are all part of the activity. We have special programs that we create and offer to the public that take place on weekends throughout the year. We have lecture series, conferences, concerts, a wide range of activities that we use to enhance the properties themselves.
So there are specific things that are taking place at different times
Yes.
of the year, and why don't you just list some of them for us so we get an idea of,
Sure.
of what they are?
We have a storytelling festival that is an annual festival that's in August, where we present at Sunnyside, the home of Washington Irving, the traditions of oral history of many cultures, or most cultures in this world, who have started without paper and pencil but passed on the word. And that takes place at Sunnyside, as I said, and will include Irish storytelling, the stories of Washington Irving, African and African-American storytelling, Iroquois storytelling of New York State, as well as Caribbean and many others. That is an annual piece, as well as Pinkster, which is an African-Dutch festival that took place in the Valley for over 200 years between the 16 and 1800s. That's an annual event that takes place at Phillipsburg Manor. That's quite popular.
It's in May.
That's in May.
Right.
And there are a wide range, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow Weekend, where we have ghost stories for everyone at Sunnyside and at Phillipsburg. Candlelight, which is an annual December festivity where we talk about the range of I use the word Christmas loosely, but the holiday celebrations from St. Nicholas and the Festival of the Dutch to Twelfth Night, an early English tradition, to the beginnings of Christmas at Washington Irving's Sunnyside. We also include on our roster benefits, and we're having our first annual African American Heritage Award benefit that will take place from in recent times in September, where we will be offering or honoring achievers who have done significant research on African American history in the Hudson River
And
Valley.
your first one in September '92 is who are receiving the awards?
Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee will be receiving a special award. They are Westchester residents for their fine work in stage and screen, portraying classical African Americans in positive light. A researcher and historian, Dr. A.J. Williams Myers, who is from SUNY New Paltz, who's worked with SUNY New Paltz in their history department. A former writer for the Albany Times-Union, a woman named Judy Shepard, who has done some very fine and courageous reporting in that area, and a posthumous award to John Harmon, who was known as the father of Black history in Westchester County.
Your appeal at all of your sites is to the entire family. It's adults and children, and I know that you do specific things to attract school children.
Yeah, we have an extensive school program where we serve annually between 30 and 40,000 children at all of our sites. And each program is really geared and worked in collaboration with the New York State curriculum guidelines. So we tap into the history in the 4th, 7th, and the 10th grade, local history, New York history, and American history.
And what else do you do to reach out to the community to tell them about the wonderful things that you have to offer them?
We have outreach programs. Also through the schools, we offer a traveling trunk show where an interpreter who happens to be a storyteller in period clothing comes into the classroom with a trunk of objects of a Swedish botanist who took extensive notes as he traveled down the Hudson River and noted everything from architecture to agriculture, and comes into the classroom with this trunk and gives children an opportunity to handle objects that relate to the 17 and 1800s, a spyglass, for instance, a journal, and begin to ask questions and understand firsthand what life was like for the tenant farmer and the landowner and the enslaved African in the valley in the 1700s.
And it takes you back as if you're really living in that
right,
time.
you have an opportunity to travel back with this botanist and really see life.
Now, on the sites themselves, the people who you call interpreters are in costume?
Yes. Our interpreters are our guides. They are our museum guides, and our institution and in other institutions, these interpreters are staff members or volunteers, and they, as we call them, we say, are dressed in period clothing as opposed to costume. that has been authenticated. We look at original research to find the exact make and style of clothing, and our interpreters wear this clothing. They take the public, our visitors, on guided tours of our houses and travel into the rooms of our houses and give a taste of life to the visitor, as well as talk a little bit about the landscape and history itself.
Do they role play?
There is some role playing. We do third person, a general conversation between the visitor and the interpreter, and there is some first person interpretation. Sunnyside is more well known for first person interpretation, where some of our interpreters who have dramatic skills will take on the roles of Washington Irving and his nieces who lived at Sunnyside, and do some role playing for special celebrations like Irving's birthday in April, or for Christmas celebrations at candlelight.
And each of the sites is unique.
Yes.
So they have an individual character. Maybe it would be a good idea right now to talk specifically about some of them. And I have some brochures from them right here. And why don't we start with Sunnyside and talk about Sunnyside.
Sunnyside has been restored to about 1835 to 1859, which was the time that Washington Irving came back to the United States from Spain and traveling in Europe as an ambassador and collecting information. Van Cortlandt Manor, your next card there, has been restored to 1810, 1814, which is the time of the Constitution, and it's after the Revolution, and America is really a new nation. It's the eve of emancipation in New York State, and great political debates took place at Van Cortlandt Manor.
But they're different. They've got a character of their own, actually,
Absolutely.
don't they?
There are different periods in history, from the beginning, from Philipsburg Manor, which is 1700s Dutch farm, which is pre-America, pre-Revolution, to the American Revolution and the building of our nation, to the Romantic era of Sunnyside.
Let's talk about the, is Montgomery Place the newest?
And on to Montgomery Place, absolutely, which is different from the Westchester properties in that it's a continuum. We talk about the history of New York from 1803 to 1985. Which gives us a broader range. We can tap into all of the creation of New York State and all the political and historical and social developments of our nation as seen in Dutchess County at Montgomery Place.
And how was it acquired? Why did it become part of the overall group?
Yes, when we were still Sleepy Hollow Restorations, it became a conversation. We became interested in a more regional approach to our museum. And Montgomery Place, which does have a connection to the lower Hudson sites in terms of its family members, became available to Historic Hudson Valley. And we decided that we wanted to have this span of the Hudson River so that we could talk about the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s, and the 20th century, and Montgomery Place enabled us to have that span. And therefore the name change from Sleepy Hollow Restorations, which was a small pocket.
So that happened at that time?
Yes.
Oh, I see. To broaden actually the scope of what you were doing. And let's talk about the Philipsburg Manor now.
Right. Our most active site. It's a living history working farm with a grist mill, 1700s grist mill that is actually in operation and grinding corn and flour daily for sale to our visitors, and a working farm with animals, oxen and sheep and chickens and roosters that are bred from livestock from the time period. So it's an actual replication, if you will, of a 1700s farm.
And finally, at least till 1994,
the beautiful stained glass windows of the Union Church of Pocantico Hills. That is a church that was built by the Rockefeller family, and it is a working congregation. There is a working congregation within that church. We provide visitor services through tours and small art workshops to schools at this church. And the stained glass windows are of Marc Chagall and Henri Matisse.
Yes. And they are magnificent.
Beautiful.
I know that's one of my favorite places, and I've gone back several times and seen them. So how do you suggest that someone who wants to visit, is it possible to see more than one in one day?
Yes, we like to set up group tours or reservation tours at our organization so that you can see 2 sites in a day, and perhaps 3, if you were to go up to see the windows while you're down in Westchester County.
It's not too much to take in one day.
No, I think it's quite a beautiful day with a lunch in between. It becomes a really nice outing.
It could be a full day.
Yes.
Do you do that with people so that they actually, you say group tour, so that the people are actually going from one to the other and it's set up that
Absolutely.
way?
If they call our reservationist at
what
our
is
main
the number
office
to call to get that information?
at 914-631-8200.
Let's repeat that now.
914-631-8200. And speak to our reservationist. That outing can be arranged so that people can go from more than one site at a prescribed time.
And one can call that number for general information.
General information Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Now, let's talk a little bit about how someone gets to be a director of a program at an institution such as this. You've got an interesting background that brought you into this.
Yes, I come to Historic Hudson Valley with a fine arts background, with a degree from Marymount College in Tarrytown as a painter, and an interest in history from my own family background and personal interests.
So you see Historic Hudson Valley as being art?
I see Historic Hudson Valley as being art and history joined together. We provide both. We provide art in our collections, in the paintings that are hanging on the walls in the homes, as well as the decorative arts collections of silver and of furniture that are in the homes. And history and preservation are really the founding crux of Historic Hudson Valley, that preservation of that ideal and preserving it for the future.
You have, I suppose, an enormous collection. Is it growing? Are you acquiring new things all the time? Are there changes taking place?
There are small changes taking place. The houses of Van Cortlandt Manor and Montgomery Place, the family collection is still intact. The collection of Phillipsburg Manor is a fine collection of New York State and furniture that was traded from China and New England. That was collected specifically for Phillipsburg Manor after we acquired the property, because the change in ownership over time, the collections had disbanded around the country. So we are acquiring very few items from family members that are still living, from the Irving household, or from the from the Van Cortlandt household, that turn up an important letter or an important piece of silver or furniture that would match or belongs or would fit into the presentation that we provide today.
There's a great attraction. There's a great feeling that people like to go to old homes. Why?
People are searching for something. I think people want to have an understanding of who they are, and if they don't have a direct memory, perhaps they want to be jogged a little bit and feel that they belong. And I think that's where multiculturalism plays a part, because not only can you feel that you belong with an object that reminds you of something in your grandmother's house or a story that your great-grandmother passed on, but you can learn about your culture through programming. You can hear about Native Americans through programming, or you can hear about the Huguenots and Germans through programming, or African Americans through programming. So I think people are really trying to hook into who they are and where they fit into the scheme of things in American history.
When you say through programming, you're talking about the programs that are set up within each of the sites,
yes,
to emphasize these aspects of what's happening there?
Through special events that take place on weekends throughout the year, through school programs that are developed specifically with themes and topics in mind, yes.
Yeah, years ago I heard a story about a youngster who was invited to join some relatives on a visit to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and he said, "No thanks, I was there once."
Come back.
The question is, why come back? Why come back to any of the sites that we're talking about. What do you see that you haven't seen the first time? I've been to Phillips Manor once. I've been to Van Cortlandt Manor once. So why should people go back? What's happening that makes it different, unusual, and unique?
I think that's a valid question. The collections remain the same, but there's always something that's changing. There's always something that's new and that's different. The gardens may be in bloom, be at a different level of growth with a different set of flowers coming up at a different time of the year. There will be different programming or an addition. Pinkster may happen every May, but there will be a new component. There will be a larger Native American component that you may not have found the year before, or there will be a new set of performers that you may never have seen before. Something is always changing. The root is there, but the blossom grows and the blossom changes, and I think that's what makes it exciting and vital, that opportunity to know that when you come back the second time and the third time, you'll find and see something that you hadn't seen before.
It's another reason, I think, to come back, and that is to show what you have enjoyed to other people. I know,
share it.
Yes, when I have visitors who come to Westchester, I like to take them to the places that I have gone to, that I have enjoyed, that I suppose I'm proud of, and want to show them so that you can see it again through their eyes. And isn't it true that you never see anything the first time or the second time, perhaps?
Right.
There's always something new that you can see. Now, again, children, I think, is a great emphasis of yours, and certainly coming back with children and grandchildren is great. What is it at each of the places that has special appeal to children?
Well, the children particularly love Phillipsburg Manor with a duck pond with geese and swans and with animals roaming the site. And every spring, knowing that one of the animals will be giving birth, there's that excitement that children really hook into. And I think all of the programming, from storytelling to ghost stories to even candlelight, has an element that children can really sink into and find something exciting that they hadn't seen before.
Let's talk about location. How do you get to each of the places?
The Westchester properties, Phillipsburg in Tarrytown, Sunnyside, and Van Cortlandt in Croton are all on Route 9, which makes it a very easy strip to travel up and down on. Van Cortlandt is right off of Route 9, the first exit in Croton. And Phillipsburg is directly on Route 9 at the northernmost end of Route 9, and Sunnyside is at the southernmost end on Route 9. Montgomery Place is a little further up. It's about an hour's drive from Tarrytown, off of the Taconic Parkway to the Red Hook exit. Not a very difficult ride at all.
And to get specific instructions to get there, I suppose we can call that same number that we gave before, and let's repeat that again.
That number in Tarrytown is 914-631-8200 for information about Montgomery Place as well.
And how does one get to the church?
The Union Church is off of Route 9 on Route 448 and straight up to the top of the hill. And again, you can call our main offices for more specifics about the Union Church and their hours of operation. Now
let's ask a personal question. Now, what is your favorite? Is it possible? Which of your children do you love the best?
I love all my children.
Do you find a particular appeal at any one of them that I know what my answer is to that, and I happen to like the windows in the church. I've been there several times, and I always see new things. Now, I'm sure you've got a favorite too.
I don't. I like each of them for different reasons. I like Van Cortlandt. It's in the town that I happen to live in. It's in Croton. There's something about Van Cortlandt and its gardens that I find refreshing and relaxing. I like Phillipsburg because there's a different kind of vitality there and a clear sense of colonial American history that I personally relate to. And Sunnyside with the river. And same with Montgomery Place, with the river being very close to the house and with a personal affinity to the Hudson River, I find those two places equally as charming.
I was fortunate to have visited Montgomery Place the week it opened. And I have a kind of a proprietary feeling about it because I was one of the first people
That's
to
right.
see it. I know it's changed since then because it wasn't even complete at that time. And I have not been back because it is further away, but I certainly have it on my list to go there.
Oh, it's stunning. I'm sorry, the north portico, which was probably under wraps when you were
Right,
there,
absolutely.
has been refinished, and now they're on the south wing, refinishing that side.
Is there a way to see these properties? Do you get an overview first? Do you start in the gift shop? I assume they all have gift shops. Is there a way to go through quickly? What's the best way to see any of these or any restored homes?
Well, the best way is to make their orientation available to you. In other words, some slides or some film or some general conversation from a staff person who gives you an overview of the history of the site. And then really wandering about the property on your leisure and tagging onto a tour when it really is comfortable, when it really suits you, I think is the best way to do it, so that you are really in control of your experience.
When you say a tour now, there are actually tours which go around, and as opposed to an interpreter in each room.
Right. We offer both experiences depending on how many visitors are on the property at one time. But yes, you can become a part of a fixed time tour that will go out at such and such a time and take you through several of the buildings. Or you can wander the property outdoors on your own and do the marsh walks at Phillips Sunnyside, for instance.
Sounds like there's a great deal to do.
There are lots of challenges.
And I'm sure that it's impossible to see any one of them the first time and be satisfied that you've seen everything. I'm sure that you can absorb so much more by going back. I get the feeling that there's a lot more to an initial visit, and that even if you've been to these places, that people should be going back again and again and again. I get that feeling from the details that you've given us today. Well, it's been great talking to you today, and we've run out of time, and I thank you very much for joining us. My guest today has been Radiah Harper Sumler, who is the Director of Program for Historic Hudson Valley. Thanks for joining us today, and until next week, enjoy yourself.
Goodbye. Thank you. That was good.